Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the class. I hope I'm audible. We'll wait for just 1 minute for everyone to join, and then we'll begin by discussing about what are the various changes in the final key, now what needs to be done, and what will be the effect of the changes in the results. Right, so we'll just give it a minute and we'll begin with our class. All right, everyone. So we'll go through each questions again. We have discussed everything previously while we discussed about the key, and today we are going to just focus majorly on the changes and what has been done, and is the final key correct? What should we do? What should we do about it? Because I've seen that a lot of people were kind of curious that should we, re-challenge it? Should we write a mail, etc., etc. We'll discuss about everything. So question number 26, I have this particular set with me. I used the same set the last time, and we are going to use that as a main standard, and you can the questions are going to be same, so you can look at the question number accordingly. So I'll be mentioning the key and according to your particular set. Now let's focus on the questions. The first question says that a researcher wants to test if there is a significant difference between achievement of scores of 8 standard students in mathematics before and after 2 months of instruction. We discussed about that. It was correct only. The key is correct about this particular question, and the key hasn't even changed. Now moving towards the next question number 27. Now for question number 27, the answer has been changed, so I'm highlighting the key question ID 3. Now both 2 and 3 are correct here, because there were there were a lot of challenges in this regard, and there was some issue, like it was a little bad worded, so maybe that's why they changed, because this said that information processing theory and cognitive development they have written, so maybe they have changed it because of that. But anyhow, you don't need to re-challenge it, or you don't need to mail it again and again, just because if you are getting marks, and they have made a lot of the changes, right? In the key, they have dropped a lot of the questions. There are 5 questions which have been dropped. So that is never the case. They never do that, right? And like they would maximum drop like 1 question, 2 question, like 5 questions has been dropped, and all the questions which were even dropped. So I'm kind of happy about it, and I think that we'll be able to the cutoff will obviously increase because of that, but we don't need to worry about these 5 drops. Why? Because first of all, it is a equi-percentile based paper, right? So it is a norm based paper. For example, if it is done on the basis of all the scores of all the students who have appeared for the paper, so it would not change. If 5 questions has been dropped, so every student will get marks, right? Whether they did that question, did not attempt that question, that is not going to affect that. So that is fine. So the first change that is there is this, and we don't need to do anything about this particular change. It is fine only. They have changed it. It's all right. Then question number 28 remains the same. It asks about the therapeutic techniques which are there in terms of classical conditioning, aversion therapy, systematic desensitization, flooding. It's correct. Now moving forward to the next question number 29. It is also the same. There is no change in the key, nothing. It was correct earlier also. Now DSM-5. This question is also correct. DSM-5 abandoned multi-axial systems initially, like even if there was a little bad wording here and there, but then obviously like it is understandable. The question says multi, right? So the question is correct. Moving ahead, question number 31. The set, I'll be sending the same set again to you. This is also correct. The question was also correct. There was no issue in the question. We discussed about it earlier. Also, now coming to the next question, which has been changed. So we discussed about this particular question. I saw that a lot of the students who reached out to me later on, they actually attempted this question wrong. So it is kind of a good thing that this question has been dropped. So that's nice. Actually, this question was based a little on the theory of motivation. Right. So their instinct, incentive, all of these words were written. The student was expected to understand that this theory, like this question has to do with motivation, and then if they would have done the matching, it would have, it would have been matched correctly. But they have dropped this question. This is good. And obviously, if they have dropped this, everyone is going to get marks. So the second key which has been dropped is 2721. So this has been in the favor of the students. That's nice, because if we look at the word instinct is the inherent need in somebody, inherent action that a person would take, right? So they have changed that. Good for everybody. Moving ahead to next question, question number 33. It had to do with the behavioral activation system and behavioral animation system and its relation in terms of motivation and emotion. This question was correct. The key was also correct. So no changes are here again. Now moving to question number 34. We discussed this question earlier also. The key was also correct in this term of in this particular question, and the question was basically asking us which kind of reliability formula will be used to score the dichotomous items, like calculate the reliability of dichotomous items. So it was KR20. The key was correct earlier also. No changes have been observed here. So nice. Now question number 35, it had to do with the development of the child, or like various, like there is one syndrome, then there are teratogens, which are basically chemical agent which affects the development of the child. There is amniocentesis, which is a process of identifying genetic defects, etc. The key was correct earlier also, so there is no issue in this. We are like, it is good. Answer was 2. The key is still the same. Question number 36. It had to do with the child's language development stage, and the answer was 1 initially only. And when the child starts to point at thing and ask what it is actually declarative pointing, but still it is also known as naming explosion. So that's nice. The key has not been changed. It was correct earlier. Now this particular question, we had to tell the sequence of the components of the past theory, which was proposed by Das and Naglieri. We discussed about it in detail earlier. In earlier discussion. It is still the same. So I'm not discussing the questions which are same, which we have discussed earlier, right? Question number 38 also remains the same. Both the statements were false. The key was correct earlier also, and it's nice. Now moving to the third question, which has been changed. Right. The key which has been changed is this. Earlier, option number 4 was correct here. It was we were asked about the basic assumption of arousal theory. It had to do with the Yerkes-Dodson law and at which we perform the best. Right. So in this particular question, initially the key stated option number 4, which means that optimal levels of arousal exist for various activities. Now they have also added option number 2 in the go, which is optimal levels of arousal exist for each person. Right. For example, there is somebody who works really well under anxiety. They work really well when they are given a particular deadline or when they have to deal with some kind of a stressor. Right. So what would be done here? We would, like, the question is correct. Wait, let me change a little setting. Alright. Can someone please affirm if my audio and video are correct, are clearly visible and audible? Okay, alright. Thank you so much for affirming. Now moving ahead to the next, let's discuss this question further. So basically in this particular question, there has been a little change, right? The second option has also been added here. The optimal level of arousal exists for each person, and we were discussing that. For example, there are different people who are there. Now, for somebody, they would be, doing, or they would be thriving really well under stress. They would be, at their best performance. They would be just, getting everything done. But then there are people who might not be doing that. So they have correctly, changed it. So it's nice. Both 2 and 4 are correct now. Moving ahead to the next question, question number 40. Question number 40 is also correct. It had to do with the Bachelor Adult Intelligence Scale. We discussed it in depth earlier. The key was earlier correct also. Now moving on, this is the question of discussion, guys. Like this question we discussed the last time also. We said that we'll be challenging that question, right? But the question has not been dropped. The question is still there. They have dropped 5 questions, which is quite a lot, which is never done, but they have not dropped this question, and there were certain issues which were there in this particular question. So now what we need to do is, here, the question had to do with Kohlberg's theory. We said that both option B and C are not viable here. We need to, we challenged that also, but then the question has not been changed, and we cannot do anything about it, and there are very less chances that they will change. Now they have actually taken into account both. So they have taken into account both B and C, like B and D as an answer. Wait. Yeah, A and D. Wait, let me change it. So initially the key said that option 1 is correct, but now they have changed it to option 1 and option 4, both. But we know that B is not there. Post-conventional was written here. So, and good boy or good girl happens in the conventional stage. So obviously this is incorrect, but there are very less chances that they'll change. We discussed about in detail also the last time, but we cannot do anything. Now, there were few students who are confused that they should challenge this question again, or what should they do. Now look, you always challenge a question when you are not getting marks. Okay? For example, if you marked A or 4 here, for example, okay, the student marked 2. So if she is not getting this this particular marks in this particular question, she can challenge it, obviously. But for somebody who is getting marks from both of these questions, Please don't go and challenge these questions. Same goes for other things. Don't waste your energy. You are getting marks. So what will happen if you are getting marks right now? For example, somebody is getting 4 marks if they have marked 1 or 4. Okay, now if, for example, the student has marked 2, so maximum to maximum this question will be dropped. Now everybody will be getting marks. So there would be no obviously for people who have marked 2 or 3, it is kind of a drawback that they would not be able to get or fetch marks from this particular question. They should obviously challenge, but if you are getting marks, don't go and challenge it. Okay, so obviously if there would be a lot of challenges, they'll change the question, but if there is not, then they would keep the key as the same, but there are very low chances that they'll change anything now. Okay, so keep this in mind and change only and only if there is something of that sort. So this is the 4th change that we have changed. That changes here in this particular question as well. Moving ahead to the so like the 4th change, we discussed about the 4th change which was there. Then there is no query in these further questions. Question number 41, only and only challenge if you are not getting marks. Okay, question number 42, there is no change. Question number 43, there is no change. And then question number 44, there is no change at all. There are like efferent and efferent neurons, they have asked about it, and this was correct in the previous key also. Then they asked who gave the objective introspection. It was Wundt, and this question was also correct. Now moving ahead to question number 46. Question number 46 had to do with these schizophrenia and the dopamine hypothesis that is there, and they asked whether people with positive symptoms have better prognosis or negative. Obviously people with negative symptom would have better prognosis than that of positive symptoms. This particular statement was incorrect. So was the next statement. Schizophrenia happens because of the excessive dopamine, not because of the lack of dopamine. So no changes here. Question number 47. We talked about various aspects of panic attack. Yes, there is a complication of panic attack that it can lead to agoraphobia. And then there are nocturnal panic attacks, which means panic attack can even occur in sleep. Moving ahead to the next question, number 48, no changes here also. They asked about the level of processing, which is the best. So that is correct. Now moving towards the that is there. This particular question has been dropped. So obviously this question was actually asking about a test which compares individual on the basis of the results. Okay. So for example, there are 100 people. We also did this, take this example earlier. So there are 100 people who undertook a particular test, and now the scores of everyone would be calculated in accordance to those people only. It is in accordance to the population. So everybody who changed marks, we will be maybe you can take the example of cutoff here also. The cutoff is decided upon the basis of the performance or the scores that everyone will be getting. Okay, so it was a norm reference test, but they have actually dropped this question. It's really unlikely of UGC to do. So actually non-referenced was written. So if somebody would have read about criterion reference test or norm reference test, they would have answered it correctly, but they have dropped this particular question, which is kind of good for those who answered incorrectly. So this key has been changed to 692. This is the 5th change. Moving ahead to the next question, question number 50. There is no change in question number 50. It talked about the behavioral modification. What exactly is behavioral modification? And here option number 3 was correct. It was correct in the key as well. Moving forward to the next question, question number 51. So here there are few changes which are there, ठीक है, and the change is actually incorrect. Let's see how. Changed the answer 1. ठीक है, this is the 6th change that we are talking about. Now why they have done that, let us look at this question again. So this question talks about the facial feedback hypothesis. Now facial feedback hypothesis, we study about this particular topic whenever we are talking about emotions. Okay. So what is happening here? They said that emotional states can produce change in facial expression. That is so there. That is on the basis of the universality hypothesis. That like for example, if somebody is feeling emotional, it would lead to some changes in facial. In that facial feedback hypothesis was actually that if somebody will keep on smiling, then they would obviously feel that okay, I'm happy. Okay, so it is kind of like fake it till you make it wala concept hai ki. But then it was written incorrectly, like it was twisted a little, but now they have changed it to 1. So maybe they have taken it as a vice versa concept key. For example, like if facial influences emotions also influences the facial expression of the people. Maybe that can be a particular logic that we can apply here. Very unlikely that they'll change it again, so we can't do anything about it. But then anyway, option 1 is correct now. Option 4 has been labeled incorrect. Initially it was 4. Now moving ahead to the next question, question number 52. Question number 52 is correct only. It was correct earlier also. The question talked about like the negative correlation occurs when higher scores on one variable are associated with the lower scores on other. That was correct earlier. Same is there in this particular key as well. So no changes here. Then we had to match various lobes with the subcortical areas which are there in those, or the cortexes, primary areas which are there. So in occipital lobe we have primary visual cortex, parietal lobe we have somatosensory, temporal we have auditory, and then in frontal lobe we have prefrontal cortex. The answer was 2. It was correct earlier also. Moving ahead to the next question, question number 54. Now in question number 54 there were a lot of the depth cues, and the name of those depth cues was given and we had to match it to the definition, and option 3 was correct earlier. Same answer is there now also, so no changes here. Question number 55. Question number 55 was talking about the various working memory tasks. We discussed about these tasks earlier also, and what is happening in this particular these particular tasks. We are just testing on our executive functions on or our working memory, how well we are able to pay attention and perceive something, all that. So there is stroop task, trail making task, color span backward task. There are dichotomy there are dichotic listening tasks also here, where both the ears would receive different informations. For example, in here I am playing some particular kind of a song in here, and like they were not quite relatable, but then they have dropped this particular question. There was typo also, so that's fine. We cannot do like that's all right. Those who answered pro. Okay, all right. So we discussed about the last change. Now moving towards the next change. Question number, like all of these questions are correct. Now the next question where the change is there. Wait, just give me a moment. Okay, all right. So we are now on the next question which has been changed. So earlier also we discussed about, we said that we need to challenge this, but then in Barron both of these statements were actually written together, right? Even though they're not kind of associated with each other and all of those things, but still. But now there is a good news that this particular question has been dropped. So obviously everyone will be getting marks for this particular question, and this is the 8th change which is there. Moving with cognitive processes and cognitive prospective thoughts which are there. So no change, like the question was kinda bad worded, but then they have obviously dropped all the questions which are bad worded, which is a good news obviously. Now moving towards so this was the 9th change which is there. Types of intelligences were given. We discussed about everything. Parasympathetic nervous system, functions of parasympathetic nervous system. The key was correct here also. Moon illusion, we discussed it earlier. You can go through that particular class. Now moving to question number 82. Now earlier the particular option that was given was 2. And that has been moved to 2 and 4 now. Why it has been changed? Now I think it is because of the little change in the formula. So if there is a population, we use this particular formula as summation of x minus x bar whole square upon n. But if we are doing that, or we are using this particular formula on a sample, we do n minus 1. So x minus x bar ka square upon n. Talk about cutoff. Numerically, the marks will seem higher, just numerically. But as the exam is percentile based, as the exam is on the base, it is a norm based test, so there would not be any effect. Obviously if we are going to calculate the mean, it would get raised now, because everyone has got 20 marks, so the mean would also get raised by 20 marks, but then there would not be any effect as such, which are there. So I would recommend you to not make any changes, not just don't go and challenge us like that. Only and only challenge if you are losing marks. I will say there is no challenge window which is open now. The final answer key is out. There are very less chances that they'll revise. Only challenge or email if you are losing marks. इन 5 ड्रॉप तो वो ड्रॉप हो चुके हैं, सबको 20 मार्क्स मिलने वाले हैं. बट इफ देर आर गोइंग टू बी एनी अदर ड्रॉप, आई वुड से द 2, 7